Record it. Okay, members. Item 1. Sorry. Anyone who's in the public gallery, please turn off your mobile devices or put them in airplane mode, and all devices are muted. And it's not permitted to take photographs or record any of the meeting. So, first thing is, we aware of any apologies. Now, I have got a message from John that he will be here around 10:30 or so, and Robbie has tendered his apologies as well. Okay. Declarations and interest. It's responsibility to declare any interest in any items under consideration today. Okay. M3, Chairperson's business. I refer you to page to the pack at page 5 to a memo dated the 11th of March from the clerk of the Committee for Communities. The Communities Committee has proposed a joint concurrent committee session with this committee and the Committee for Infrastructure on Thursday the 21st of May on the Sustainable Places Programme. Communities Committee and the ERA Committee meet at the same time, so if members are agreed, we could propose doing this session at either the start of our meeting time at 10 a.m. and then hold our own meeting after the session. Members not wish to attend the concurrent meetings, we can propose that the session will be reported by Hansard and all papers shared with each committee. Members, any comments? Happy enough with that? Okay. Item 2. Happy enough to do the 10 a.m. meeting, the concurrent meeting with the Committee for Communities? Okay. Members are referred to the pack starting at page 11. The 3 items of correspondence dated the 9th of March. The committee has been copied into from an individual regarding the progress of 3 separate environmental information regs 2004 requests to the department regarding the storage and management of combustible waste materials at Regen Group sites. Individuals also provide copies of correspondence received from the department. As you know, we do not deal with individual matters. However, there is a wider matter of environmental health that you wish to seek clarity on from the department. We can write to the ERA. Otherwise, you're content to note. Right. Yeah. Okay. Members, page 68 of the pack, correspondence from Dogs Trust dated the 12th of March regarding his decision to remove the third-party public liability insurance benefit from his companion club from 1st July. It outlines the financial considerations behind this and the impact this will have on owners of exempted dogs, as this is currently the only way for them to comply with the Dangerous Dogs Order. It also states that DAERA has provided assurance that a solution will be in place by 30th of June, but there is no detail as yet. There is a concern that dogs may be seized or euthanised due to owners not being able to obtain third-party liability insurance, and have offered to meet with the committee to discuss the matter. Members, do you wish to meet the Dogs Trust, or should we write to the department first to see what they are doing on the matter? We'll write to the department first, perhaps, and then sure, once we get that, then we'll be better informed. Thank you. Item 4 of Chairperson's business, page 3 of the table of papers, to the Minister's written statement regarding the laying in the Assembly of the 3rd NI Climate Change Adaptation Programme as required by the Climate Change Act 2008. Members received a copy via email yesterday. The plan, which was subject to an 8-week public consultation between June and August last year, sets out the actions to adapt to and build resilience to the impacts of climate change over the next 5-year period. The Minister states that there has been significant engagement and input from across all departments and stakeholders, with over 280 actions in the programme's adoption delivery plan. Members okay to note? Okay. And to item 4, minutes of the 12th of March 2025. I refer you to the draft minutes of our meeting on the 12th of March, starting at page 71 of the pack. Members okay to note and are content with the minutes as drafted? Okay, I'll now sign them. Refer to the draft minutes of our extra meeting dated the 16th of March, start at page 11. Members, have you any comments, or are you content with the minutes as drafted? Okay, I will say and put them on the website. Okay, members, do we sign that?
Sign them now.
Okay. thank you for your indulgence for that meeting on the 16th of March as well. It was an unusual experience, so thank you very much. Agenda item 5, monitorising. Page 86 of the pack, to a response from the Department on the 10th of March regarding the STEM Agriculture Programme legislation flowchart. The Department states that further to our request, the legislative landscape diagram will now be published on the DAERA website alongside the flowchart outlining the interrelationship between the SAP schemes and to allow farmers to access information should they wish to. I think this is welcome. Members intend to note. March Horizon 2, page 89 of the pack, corresponds to the 10th of March from Shared Environmental Services. You'll recall on the 5th of March we considered correspondence from NIA regarding its review of our odour management. We then agreed to write to SES to inquire if they hold any records covering the last 5 years and whether there has been any increases or decreases in the number of cases followed up or any outcomes which can be linked to any changes in policies. The response states that the core function of SES is to undertake habitat regulations assessment and planning applications and local development plans on behalf of all local councils concerning the protection of European sites designated for species and habitats. The work does not extend to the protection of public health, and SES has no role or remit in odour assessments and provides no advice in that regard. Tend to note. Matters Horizon 3, page 16 of the table papers, to a response from the Department of the 16th of March regarding Bonds Glen Road and the reported destruction within the Sperrin AONB and the adjacent special area of conservation. Members recall the meeting on the 26th of February. We agreed to write to the Department seeking an update on any enforcement actions. The Department advises that site inspections conducted in October 25 by the Natural Environment Division, Environmental Crime Unit and the Water Catchment Unit found no legislative breaches. It also states that there are no regulatory or enforcement powers associated with AONB and any protections are within the remit of Derry Staban Council Planning Authority, who have been investigating since the 13th of January. The Minister stated that was the reason he has declined the Council's request in January to meet with them to discuss the matter. The Lochs Agency has also notified that due to the proximity of the River Faughan, as has DAERA Forestry Service, due to claims of unlicensed tree felling. In addition, the Department of Infrastructure Rivers Agency has been notified in response to allegations of diverting and culverting water resources. Members, last week we considered a request from the Bonds Glen Group to brief the committee on its concerns and agreed to consider the matter further once this response was received. Okay.
Do members want to hear from them? Are they content with the response?
Tom, did you mention that last week about the Bonds Glen Group?
Yeah, they had
yeah.
come a written response on looking for, or with a request for to meet with the committee. And I think given the damage that's done on the area, and I understand what NIA are saying and what the department's saying and what the council's has met with them and all, but planning still has got enforcements in this area because of the damage that's been done. And I think if anybody was out on the ground to see the damage that's actually done, then there would be no question about it that there is a huge environmental issue here. So I think it would only be, I suppose, proper that we as a committee would give them the opportunity to come. They're only looking for two to come and to brief the committee, and I think that we should do that.
Yeah. Members agreed? Happy, Tom? Yeah. Happy enough? Okay. Okay, members. And agenda item 6, dilapidation bill, deliberations and formal decision making, clause by clause. Today we will continue to move towards making some informal decisions on our agreement or otherwise with each clause. And if we wish to propose any amendments, and I will be requesting that we move into closed session for those discussions and start at clause 7. Members.
Committee Room 21. Sound.
Of me, should anyone need them. Okay, members, in the table papers, we have the department's summary of NILGA / building control NI meetings.
Committee Room 21. Sound.
28 of the table papers. The review of costs aims to support members when scrutinising key potential financial implications for the public purse if the Dilapidation Bill is enacted and introduced. Members for response to enhance our scrutiny. Members okay with that? Okay. Members, do you wish to have an oral briefing from Reyes on this paper after Easter recess, or are you content with information and any response from the department on the issues highlighted? Do you want to meet Reyes after Easter? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Members, great. Okay. Okay, in the pack we have the deliberations table updated after last week's meeting, starts at page 95, and the text I will cover in closed session comes from that table. Clerk's summary of meetings held on the 24th of February and 2nd of March with NILGA, and the departmental bill official starts at page 122. The bills introduced starting at page 127. The explanatory financial memorandum starting at page 155. Okay.
Sorry, I'm just wondering, we've obviously heard from the officials in relation to their meeting with NILGA, and I know that NILGA have been in contact with regards to, I suppose, their view of that meeting. I'm not sure whether it's appropriate or not, but would it be possible maybe to have NILGA back again, just to have a conversation just before we sort of make our final deliberations?
Yeah, sure. Sometimes a group would come back twice.
Obviously,
if the
building
committee
control
want
were
them.
also involved in that too,
Yeah.
and I know that their presentation was actually quite quite useful.
Yeah. These are the major delivery partners in this, so absolutely, I think that's what makes sense.
Yep.
Great. Okay, members. Okay, we're going to proceed here now. So I want to welcome our official, Alvin Baker and Glenda, our senior clerk, assistant clerk, who is predominantly working on this bill. Members, going to close session now.
Committee Room 21. Sound. 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 Committee Room 21. Sound.
And I'd like to welcome the dear officials, Simon and Mark, to the committee. We had an informal session on our scrutiny of the bill just there now. And so we're now back in public session. We can bring the bill officials back to address the queries we discussed in the closed session. Janice and Glenda, perhaps, will summarise the discussions from the closed session, and then we can bring in Mark and Simon for any questions that we have that has emanated from that. So, Glenda, you?
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Chair. So we started at Clause 7 today, which was the dangerous structures. Notice we didn't have any comments in relation to that. Clause 8, the appeal. Just in relation to this, the bill clerk did advise that there are procedures in the guidance which outline what the councils need to do before they issue a notice, and this will be the basis for the justification, because there was a query about it having to only show but then have to justify when it comes to appeal. C9, breach of dangerous structures, we had nothing on that. In relation to emergency action, there was just the query again regarding the council's experience that the court, they won't be able to get a summons served by the court if they can't prove they've served the notice on the actual person. So there may be some clarity required around that. C11 then was there will be a question, there may be a question on that regarding the liability on the council if they fail to act, and if there was legal advice sought on that. In C12, the issue regarding reasonable costs, I think that was another question that members may have when we come to raise those with the officials. C13 to C15, we didn't have any comments. C16, again, there will be committee need clarification regarding a legal test in relation to Article 72. There was maybe an issue in relation to Clause 17 the committee have regarding the long wait for planning permission and the situation there where the building gets into a difficult or a bad state, how that will be linked into the length of time of the planning permission. Clause 18 was regarding the provision to gain entry by lay magistrates, so there may be, I think we were waiting on clarification on that from the officials. C19 was about the fixed penalty. Again, I think there was to be progress meetings with NILGA in relation to that, so just an update maybe on the work that has gone on behind the scenes. The Bill Clerk did advise regarding the FPM of how this can be staggered, and if the committee are minded, this can be increased. Just going through this.
Clause 20.
Yeah, Clause 20 then is just on the guidance, if there's any update on where we are with that, if it has progressed any or changed. 21, no comments. Clause 22, there was a point around the appeals, and the Bill Clerk advised that in respect of all notices, all appeals go to the Magistrates Court, and this can be done simply online. By a simple form. However, there may be some clarification required or assurances needed on how easy these instructions are to the lay person and the public on being able to process an appeal. Clause 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 and 30, we had no comments. Again, Clause 31, no comments. There was a few other queries that members had raised in relation to the appeal process for a fixed penalty notice. In relation to Schedule 1, again, we had no comments, but just the committee, it was just highlighted that they can be minded to change the FPM or stagger this. Schedule 2 then repeals, we had no comments, and I think that was everything, yeah?
Yeah. I want to go back through, Chair, will we start back at clause? And we'll work through just the questions and I'll
Yep.
remind you whenever there was to be a question, and then we'll take them one by one, if
Yep.
that's okay with the officials.
Clause 10, yeah.
So, yes, there was nothing really specifically to be asked about clauses 7, 8. Clause 8, appeal against dangerous structure notice. Chair, I think the committee were content that there is no additional work for the councils as they already have to do the work, and there won't be any additional work of that for the councils in regarding that appeal against dangerous structure notice. Clause 9, there was no question to raise. Clause 10. Oh, sorry, apologies. Clause 9 regarding dangerous structures. I think, Chair, some members still have some concerns about serving a notice on a structure that is dangerous and needing emergency action. Does any member wants to go back over that, please? Yes, clause 10. Is there still any concerns about the serving of the notice on a dangerous structure or building that's dangerous?
I think it was more to do with the courts. The councils were experiencing that the courts won't issue a summons if they can't prove that they have issued the notice to the person. You know, there's the issue that you can attach a notice to a building if you can't find the owner, so there was that query.
Any members want to raise anything there, could you ask them? Thanks.
Yeah.
I think they're referring here.
Yeah.
The extra one we ought to put in.
Page 19.
Yep.
I've just written a note there. It's really about
Yeah.
serving the notice of the
Yeah.
building is dangerous.
Oh yes, that came up there, but I serve a notice of it's not safe for council staff to attach a notice. Yeah, that was the issue. Yeah, and that the possibility the courts will not accept a photo notice of attached property. So, what will have implications for serving notice if the courts won't accept it? A notice being posted on the building.
Certainly the position had been that a notice of this to inform the property owner would be sufficient under the Interpretation Act in terms of fixing it to the property. We're not aware of anything to the contrary, but we can certainly obviously seek a bit of legal advice on that.
Yeah.
But have we already raised that potentially with OLC, Mark? Around serving, what counts as service in another context?
Yes, to do with the court summons.
The court summons. So we'll come back to committee on that, yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think in relation to emergency action, there's no initial notice served. The council will go in and do the work. It's not like affixing like a dangerous structure notice. In the emergency action, the council will go in and do the work. There's no emergency action notice per se. If it's reasonably practical under clause 10.4 that they give notice of their intention, that what they're going to do if they can find someone. That's and then there's the notice under 10.6, but that's to do with after they've started the work. That's like a notice in the other notices, if you know what I mean. There's no initial notice served.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was the next one then?
Clause 11, Chair, the officials are clarifying an issue with the legal team. It's page 21.
Yeah. What were the
Clause 11.
If there was any liability on the council if they failed to act, and they were to seek legal advice on that.
Aye, so the officials are clarified the legal team.
Yeah.
Are we any
And we're awaiting the legal advice on that, so we have raised that query already, yep.
Okay.
It's a reasonable cost.
Yeah, clause 12 regarding costs of district councils. They would be, officials are to be addressing the phrase reasonable costs
Reasonable
with the
costs.
legal team.
Yes, so that's another query that we have. We're awaiting a response from the legal team, and on the issue of reasonable costs, I think that fundamentally will come down to whether the costs are purely those involved in doing the remediation work on the structural actual work, or whether it would expand to include associated costs, administrative, for example. So we're getting clarity on that, and we will clarify that. The intention is in the guidance, the statutory guidance, will provide more information on that.
Flick through. 16.
The legal test on Article 72.
Yeah.
Legal text advice. What's happened relating to?
Yeah. This is in relation to if a legal test exists in law for determining offences and penalties where property is owned by multiple trustees.
Yeah. You think that okay, Simon? And was it the agreed charge is any legal test to advise committee in relation to clause 23? If where property is owned by multiple trustees and it's particularly the trustees can't be located.
Right. Yes, so this query, is also with the legal team around the number of trustees or directors, etc. The minimum numbers. I think that's maybe what this issue is referring to. And
Yes.
at the moment, we're not aware of a minimum requirement in terms of the number. So I know there's some concern maybe around a loophole there, but we're not aware of anything in that regard. We have looked at it ourselves at an official capacity, and we've raised it with our legal advisors as well.
Chair, yeah, the officials will also to
Oh, yeah.
seek advice if a definitive legal view as to whether works can be carried out in default, even if the owner is unknown.
Yes, and that again with the
part of
legal
that
team.
query.
Yep, that's all part
Okay.
of that. Absolutely.
Andy?
Pending. Chair, I'm just trying to cover all these off today. So.
Are we?
Then regarding planning department, Gareth Wilson,
Who's
wanted to
trying to
raise a
get-
question. Yes,
Yeah.
can bring Gareth in.
Gareth, do you want the question you raised with the planning earlier?
Regarding clause 17 and consultation with the planning department, you were had some concerns.
Yeah. Generally, in terms of, in the instances where, planning service potentially could be involved, or the heritage element, that you wouldn't have circumstances of delay, and then the council having to exercise their more emergency style functions, based on the fact that there could be the potential for delay, if the building potentially was in a conservation zone. Because I've had experience of that also in my own constituency, where you have conservation areas, however there are buildings of, dubious condition, but yet those buildings would be impacted by any form of works in a conservation zone, and dealing with HED can be quite protracted, as I've found out with 10 years in planning service as well. So it's just making the point that, and I suppose this is outside of the scope of the bill in terms of its intentions, you would imagine all consultees and government agencies would work to the betterment of the high street, not against it, and not cause undue delay. And I suppose it's just the flavour and the direction of the bill and how it's handled, that you don't have a circumstance where a department would be even mildly seen to be obstructing progress in terms of the ultimate betterment of the high street or wherever that.
Yeah, that certainly came up in our meetings with NILGA and building control people, that, striking the balance between, the heritage side of things and, if, say, it's a dangerous building, getting the balance right. At the end of the day, public safety would have to be measured up against the heritage element.
It should override it, surely.
Well, you would like to think if it's the public are in danger, that things falling off the top of a building, that you would like to think that. It did certainly it did come up during our discussions with NILGA and the building control people.
Gareth, thank you. What's the next item up?
That's clause 18, power of entry, Chair. There was consideration as to whether consent can be sought from a lay magistrate and whether that has been considered, and the officials had agreed to look into that and report back.
Yeah, we looked at the Planning Act, and we would have no, if we wanted to put in that provision into clause 18, we wouldn't have a problem with it. Obviously the bill was drafted before, or was the bill drafted before? No, it wasn't. Before the Planning Act. It's not something really that came up, but certainly we'd be open to including it.
Okay.
We can return to that
We
at another
can return to that
meeting
one,
to see if the committee wish to agree that amendment. Chair, there was some discussion around the fixed penalties at clause 19, and the officials had previously raised with us the balance between being flexible while ensuring consistency between councils, so they're going to work with the councils to see the best way this approach can be achieved, and the officials' preference was for that to be achieved through statutory guidance. The statutory guidance. So we were just querying, are they aware if NILGA is actually content with that approach?
Certainly, as your committee will be aware, we had 2 meetings with NILGA and Building Control a few weeks ago, and we have provided the attendees with a summary of that meeting, which includes reference to the proposed approach to ensuring a degree of consistency across councils, and as you say, relying on things like the statutory guidance and potentially a matrix, which would be developed in conjunction with NILGA and the councils. As yet, we haven't had a response, but I think most of the attendees at that meeting are currently on leave. So it may be another couple of weeks before we get anything back on that. But certainly they were very keen that there would be a degree of cooperation to get that consistency.
We agreed to take on the
Yeah, so I should have said there that in the closed session we did agree to get NILGA back before the committee again, so we did for an update.
It's just to share any feedback received
From the councils and the draft guidance in relation to clause 20, if there's any feedback from the councils on draft guidance.
So yes, the draft statutory guidance was shared with NILGA and SOLAS back in the autumn, and we have received comments on that document, which would be consistent with their issues that committee has been considering in recent weeks. And it'll be very much a case of going back to local government in the coming weeks as we continue the development of the draft statutory guidance in partnership with them.
We have one before us.
Yeah, and we can just whenever we get NILGA before us as well, we will get an update from them on that. So where else were we at?
Chair, I think it's sort of already been covered by Glenda regarding the appeal.
Yeah.
That there's perhaps a suggestion that the guidance needs to be strengthened on how to submit an appeal.
Yeah, how to submit an appeal is, yeah. It's where would an appellant go, or no, it needs to be made clearer, more transparent.
Certainly. Absolutely. No problem in incorporating that in a revised draft of the guidance. Yes, certainly. Provide some clarity around that.
Oh yes, clause 30. Chair, it wasn't mentioned there, but there was a discussion about the publicity campaign, and has it been planned or shared?
Yeah, publicity campaign, and you said that the official were you should meet the minister in late March. I presume that hasn't happened yet, but it's scheduled, I guess.
Yeah,
right.
we're meeting Minister on Wednesday.
Oh, very good.
Great.
Very good.
That's fine.
Yeah.
The committee will just be considering the fixed penalty notices
Yeah.
again. in
Again,
due
we'll
course.
be concerned the fixed penalty notice again in due course.
Yes, yeah.
I think that was the issues that were raised during the closed session. So, unless members have any other questions of the officials, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And a letter will come covering all that again.
Yeah, there will be a letter from the committee covering all that.
Every week.
Last Thursday.
Dilapidations bill causing trouble already.
Didn't come back yesterday.
Could you, Chair, could you also agree to take a briefing on the raise paper? And then we'll
Okay, members. In addition to getting NILGA back, we've also agreed to get another briefing from Raise on the costings
paper. Yeah.
costings paper. Okay. Okay, members, we're going to move on now to agenda item number 8. It's SL1, mandatory use of closed circuit television in slaughterhouses regs, NI 2026 departmental oral session.
Bless me.
I refer to your pack to the following papers. The clerk's scrutiny memo of 16th of March is page 557. SL1 letter dated 9th February at page 560. And the draft SR and then the explanatory memorandum starting at page 566. The Department submitted the above SL1 and draft SR to the committee on the 9th of February to advise of its intention to make a new regulation on the draft furniture procedure which will mandate the use of closed-circuit television in slaughterhouses which handle live animals. Our meeting on 9th of February, the committee agreed to receive an oral briefing from DAERA today, publish the Department's papers, issue a call for reviews, use a citizen space platform and publicise the call for reviews on the committee's social media. We noticed last week our citizen space survey closed on the 4th of March with no responses submitted. Today we will decide if we are content to make the decision on the SR. I welcome the following officials: Mr. Neil Gartland, the Director of Animal Health and Welfare Policy; Mr. Christopher Andrews, the Deputy Director of Animal Health and Welfare Policy; Mr. Barry McGarvey, the Senior Principal Veterinary Officer; and Mr. Chris Wade, Farm Animal Policy Lead. Gratefully take the opportunity to brief the committee.
Thank you, Chair. I'll brief this morning. So good morning to yourself and to members. Welcome the opportunity to brief the committee on the draft mandatory use of closed-circuit television in Slaughterhouse Regulations Northern Ireland 2026, which has been developed following public consultation. And as you outlined, Chair, I'm joined here by Chris Andrews, Barry McGarvey and Chris Wade, and we'll be happy to take questions after my opening remarks if that's all right. In terms of background, in 2015 the Farm Animal Welfare Committee recommended mandatory CCTV across all UK slaughterhouses to strengthen oversight and improve welfare outcomes. Since that recommendation, England introduced legislation in 2018, Scotland followed in 2021 and Wales implemented similar regulations in 2024. Northern Ireland is the only UK jurisdiction without mandatory CCTV requirements in slaughterhouses. While slaughterhouses in Northern Ireland already operate to high standards and the majority have already got CCTV in use, there is no common binding rules on CCTV systems to be used, no minimum standards for coverage or retention, and no statutory right of access for official veterinarians. The Minister identified this as a priority within the animal welfare pathway with the aim of closing a clear regulatory gap and aligning Northern Ireland with the rest of the UK. Introducing mandatory CCTV will strengthen enforcement capability, improve consistency across premises and reinforce public confidence in the humane treatment of animals throughout the slaughter process. There are currently 20 licensed slaughterhouses operating in Northern Ireland. Of these, 15 already have full CCTV coverage in areas where live animals are present, driven largely by contractual requirements from major GB retailers and by participation in assurance schemes such as Red Tractor. 5 sites, however, only have partial coverage or no coverage at all. An 8-week public consultation took place in March 2025 and received 22 responses from representative bodies, industry and individuals. There was strong support for the proposals. 91% agreed CCTV should be mandatory in all areas where live animals are handled, stunned or killed. 91% supported a 90-day retention period and 77% considered the associated costs proportionate. And finally, 73% supported full access for authorised officers. Although some respondents raised concerns about costs for smaller operators and data protection, the overall response provided a clear mandate to proceed. A regulatory impact assessment, a quality screening and rural needs assessment were undertaken. No equality, human rights or rural impacts were identified. The regulations, which will be made under Section 11 of the Welfare of Animals Act, Northern Ireland 2011, are subject to the affirmative resolution procedure. These regulations will require CCTV in all areas where live animals are present, including unloading, handling, stunning and killing areas. Footage must be of sufficient quality to be used as evidence. Footage must be retained for a minimum of 90 days and available for authorised officers to view, copy or seize where required. Full access for official veterinarians and departmental officials, including the power to inspect systems, request footage and seize equipment where necessary. Enforcement powers, including improvement and prohibition notices. And a 6-month implementation period, providing slaughterhouses with time to ensure compliance before enforcement provisions take effect. Offences and penalties mirror those in place in Great Britain and are considered proportionate and evidence-based. Guidance is being developed for industry and enforcement officers to ensure clarity around technical and operational expectations. As the regulations introduce new offences and penalties and involve the Department of Justice, executive approval was required, and that was granted on the 22nd of January. And in conclusion, introduction of mandatory CCTV in slaughterhouses will strengthen and support the work of our official veterinarians, improve transparency and accountability across the sector, enhance animal welfare protections, particularly in those areas difficult to supervise directly, provide operators with valuable training and quality assurance tools, protect staff and operators against unfounded allegations, provide consumer reassurance and ensure parity with the rest of the UK. With regards to next steps, subject to the committee's consideration, the Department will seek Assembly time to lay and make the regulations. Once approved, the regulations will commence with a 6-month implementation period. The Department will finalise guidance and continue engagement with operators and veterinary colleagues to support smooth implementation. So thank you for the opportunity to outline the proposals. These regulations represent a necessary modernisation of the legislative framework and will ensure consistent enforceable oversight across all slaughterhouses in Northern Ireland. We view that the proposals are balanced, proportionate and operationally deliverable, and we're happy to answer any questions that members may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that presentation. Could you tell me what evidence or studies is there available to support the view that CCTV requirement in slaughterhouses lead to measurable improvements in animal welfare and accountability?
So I think in terms of the evidence from England, who did a review of the implementation of the regulations there was clear evidence that it helped identify animal welfare breaches. And in addition, 1 in every 3 certificate of competence suspensions for slaughterhouses there used the CCTV regulations as part of the evidence base as why that should have been revoked. It also provided an evidence base for training of staff, and the Animal Welfare Committee report outlined the animal welfare benefits that would be accrued by bringing in regulations such as this, and then which has been implemented in GB. But I'll bring in Chris on the Animal Welfare Committee with a bit more evidential background on that, if that's okay, Chris.
Yeah, so as Nate said in his opening remarks, it was a welfare recommendation, I think, as well, a recommendation from that committee. And I think it would be sort of remiss not to mention as well the fact that there is a public expectation that where animals are slaughtered, CCTV should be used. There's a strong correlation between people's perception that CCTV provides safeguards that ensures that the animals are there's sort of proper appropriate processes in place, and that the sort of product that results at the end of it is of a higher welfare standard. I think as well in terms of sort of where Northern Ireland sits, we are seen as a bit of an outlier, as again as sort of Neil has spoken about, because we don't have this legislation in place, and in many respects we're actually playing catch up with a number of the assurance schemes that are already in operation across Northern Ireland. Things like Red Tractor require CCTV to operate, so we're really just, as I say, playing catch up in that regard. But
am I right in saying that across like the EU, like the South don't have?
That's correct, Chair. So the only European member state that has mandatory CCTV in abattoirs is Spain. It is not something that the European Food Safety Authority have actually produced any sort of recommendations on. But again, using the information I think gathered from the post-implementation review in England, it is obvious to see, or it's clear to see, that that has been CCTV has supported things like proving welfare breaches. It has also supported and helped organisations disprove or dispel that poor welfare practice was taking place. So it's seen as an important safeguard. And as I say, just I know I've sort of touched on this before, but it does provide the public with reassurance that the animals are slaughtered in accordance with the regulations, and it's also complementary with the existing regulations on welfare at the time of killing.
Okay. Okay, members, okay with that? So, thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, members, following on from the presentation here from the officials, and bear in mind that the SL1 stage is the last opportunity of the committee to influence the policy approach. Remember, it's okay that we have sufficient information to make a formal decision on the draft SR. Okay. Members want to invite any stakeholders to provide oral evidence before we make a formal decision on SR. Okay. So members, does the committee agree that subject to the Department addressing any further issues identified would be content to support the draft SR?
Chair, there were no issues raised today.
Yeah, there's no issues raised. Okay. So, committee comment, no further evidence or action from the Department is required. Then I'm going to ask the question. As the procedure is draft affirmative, there will be a debate in plenary. Are you content the committee supports the SR as drafted in the debate?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Agenda item 9, correspondence. There is correspondence memo for reference page 577 of the pack. I'll highlight a few items. If any further items members wish to discuss, please advise me now. Otherwise, I'm seeking agreement that the actions proposed in the memo for the remaining items are agreed. Members agreed? Okay, so there's just a few here. Starting at page 579, there's a communique from the Minister regarding the attendance at the EFRA Inter-Ministerial Group. Topic of discussion included the Fishing and Coastal Growth Fund, engagement and progress in the EU-UK SPS agreement negotiations, and UK food strategy. Happy note. I refer you to correspondence starting at page 580 of the pack, dated the 12th of March. The Department regarding the intention to launch a consultation on regulating cross-boundary carbon capture and storage pipelines under the EU ETS, an explanation of the policy options within the consultation outlined in Appendix A, and a copy of the consultation document. An analytical survey summary is also included. So, happy note. 9.4, I refer you to page 607 to a memo dated 13th of March from the Senior Assistant Clerk to the Windsor Framework Democratic Scrutiny Committee regarding a proposal for a regulation of the European Parliament and the Council welfare of dogs and cats and their traceability. DSC noted that some of the issues raised by stakeholders during consultation may be relevant to this committee, or provide a link to the responses and evidence received to date. Happy note. I refer to page 608 to a memo dated 30th of March from the Clerk of the Finance Committee regarding a report on Administration of Financial Provisions Bill. Copies at page 609. Have a note. We're referring back to page 660 to a memo dated 12th of March from the Clerk of the Finance Committee regarding the Department of Finance summarising outworkings of the additional funding allocated to the Executive following the Chancellor's Spring Statement. Members happy enough to note? Yep. This one, yeah. And I refer you to page 686 of the pack to correspondence dated 12th of March from Sensible Merchants Limited regarding what it describes as the impending threat to the NI heavy engineering cluster from steel tariffs and CBAM implementation. Principal Merchants are requesting to speak with the committee. Are we, if any get any comments, and are you content that we give them that opportunity? Okay, thank you.
What's the, say that to be again, the opportunity for?
It's the impending threat to the NI heavy engineering cluster from steel tariffs and CBAM.
Okay, so I was just saying, because the Minister's indicated that the impacts are expected to be minimal, but I was thinking just based on the concern from the industry itself, maybe we should ask them to come in and give us a briefing on their concerns, yeah?
Yeah, that's
just that was request, sorry.
Yeah,
penny drops. That's okay.
You're supporting this proposal.
I'm supporting that, yeah.
Thank you, Eva.
Half reading me notes.
So, okay, no call to that. This one.
You do that, yeah.
Okay. Members, for work programme, start at page 87 of table of papers. Okay to publish the forward work programme. Next week's meeting at the Lough Neagh Fishermen's Cooperative. After our committee business is concluded, we'll have a tour of the visitor centre followed by lunch and then a few short minutes drive to Enva for a tour facility at 2 p.m. The clerk emailed us to ask for confirmation of members' availability for the visit to Enva. John has so far confirmed, and I'm confirmed.
And Michelle.
Yeah, and so anybody who has confirmed or anybody who's available, can you please let the clerk of the committee know? So we can see what the numbers are for those attending, and directions will be provided in next week's pack.
I know that's maybe not normal practice, but given the fact that they have offered members to view, and I know there's a number of our colleagues have got PAC and so on, that maybe if we opened it up out to some other members, given maybe a particular interest maybe in their constituency, just
maybe agree.
If that might be something that you'd be willing to do.
We have a fairly, I've just checked because Michelle kindly reminded me about this next week, so we have a fairly busy schedule next week for the PAC, and there's 3 of us on it. So it's an issue.
It's a really good facility, and it's worth visiting. And if we were willing to open that out maybe to other members, I mean, I'm not speaking from knowledge that colleagues are willing to go, but I know that whenever businesses open their premises, obviously they go to a lot of preparation work, and it would be useful maybe for as many people as possible to see what they do.
John?
This is ENVA, I take it we're talking about specifically rather than the other aspect of the day. Yeah, look, it's in Mid-Ulster, but it may as well also be in South Antrim, so it's right on the boundary, serves as an employer very much both constituencies, so you could invite Mid-Ulster members as well as South Antrim, and I have no objection if it goes wider than that either.
And are you proposing to be asked for another date so when you may become available, or what?
No, I'm not,
are you making a
I'm not
proposal?
proposing. I would like to attend, to be honest, but
Yeah.
the timing in the afternoon we just won't suit
Yeah.
us. Yeah. If it hadn't have been this, I could have probably tried to adjust the committee a wee bit, but I can't because we've witnesses coming. So.
Yeah.
I can certainly look into how we would do that. If the committee are agreed to, we can say the visit is happening, but we would need to check with ENVA as well in the first instance because they've agreed to meet the ERA committee.
Yeah, so we do proceed with the event next week and see, and then is there possible for a follow-up meeting for members who couldn't make it? Is that what we're...
No, I think Michelle is proposing that we offer the visit out to other members just so that it's not...
Either that, or if ENVA would prefer to wait for another date that would suit more members. So I suppose there's two options there.
Did it not suit for the morning? No. I know we have a committee, but it's a difficult one.
We have the committee meeting set at the Loughney Fisheries Cooperative,
Yeah.
And then them to brief us on the afternoon was agreed for ENVA. But that was in advance of more members being part of PAC and Aoife being justice in the afternoon. And next week the chair has to leave early as well. We could propose to
And move it to another date.
Move the ENVA if they prefer that, or if they're happy, if ENVA are happy to proceed with a few members of the committee, then it's probably advisable that we go ahead. But I can certainly extend it in the first instance to the MLAs from that constituency, those constituencies, Chair.
So have them in Ulster, right?
If the committee's agreed. Is that okay? I'd agree.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think like we don't know who's going to be available really. So I think the best approach, ideally, although it's up to the committee, obviously, is that another date could be maybe considered, and we have our meeting and everything there at that particular time. It would just sit better. It's very difficult to have.
Chair, the issue is why we were having it in the Loughney Fishermen's Cooperative is that ENVA had nowhere that we could hold a meeting. Because to be fair, the original plan was that the meeting, that ENVA was sort of the first thing in that area that we were going to see, and then we added on the Loughney Fishermen's Cooperative because they had facilities to hold the meeting, whereas ENVA didn't have those facilities for us. So that's how we ended up with them in the afternoon as the visit. So I'm not quite clear.
We proceed with the members of the committee who are available and any of the constituency MLAs, Southampton, Mid-Ulster, who might be available, and then scope out the possibility of further meeting with members who aren't available.
I think have a conversation with ENVA and reflect what's been said and for them to make the call as to whether or not they want the visit to go on ahead or whether they would prefer for it to be rescheduled.
I think it's very clear from conversation here that we want to make the most of it for ourselves and for them, so I think that'll be communicated to them as well.
Okay, we'll go ahead and let you know, let the committee members know what ENVA wish to do.
Okay, members. Sorry, John. Oh, sorry, I thought you were coming ahead. Folks, unless there's any other business, we're going to bring the shutter down. Okay, meeting concluded, and next week we're meeting at the 10 a.m. Thursday 26th of March at Loughney Fishermen's Cooperative in Toonbridge, and the direction will be in your pack on Monday. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Committee Room 21. Sound.